Brazil's Lencois Maranhenses is where the desert meets the river. Visually stunning and an eco hotspot, it has been declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Literally meaning bed sheets because the fish bury themselves in the mud, staying dormant until the water returns with the rain. And it's been a star on numerous Hollywood flicks. Welcome to September and welcome to Kaleidoscope. We are positive, daring, different. On the show today, the lives of the neurodivergent, the future of Sri Lanka's tech landscape, and inside Beethoven's house. Kaleidoscope is on 4 digital channels: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. In case you miss out, do subscribe, follow and like us. Much applause to our wonderful partners on the show, Selinco Live, CDB and The Daily Morning. You're fantastic.
She wins with CDB Wings, exclusive financial solutions for women.
And this is a look back at the week that was on CDB Snapshot. Sri Lanka's headline inflation turns positive in August to 1.2% from July's 0.3%. Tax revenue in Sri Lanka increases by over 28% in the first 7 months of 2025. Sri Lanka's budget deficit reduces to 556 billion rupees from January to July, from last year's 872.6 billion. The world's most expensive car, the Rolls-Royce boat tail, has been priced at $28 million. Italy sounds the call for 100 Tiramisu Tasters to judge the 2025 Tiramisu World Cup in October.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Selinco Life.
Welcome, this is Selinco Life News Capsule. Sri Lanka's IT BPM industry is targeting $5 billion in exports by 2030, with 200,000 plus professionals powering its digital economy. On Kaleidoscope News Capsule this week is SLASCOM's new chairperson, Shehani Seneviratne, and as she takes the helm, the focus shifts to innovation, global competitiveness and driving national digitalization. Shehani, congratulations as the new chairperson of SLASCOM. What is your immediate priority in steering Sri Lanka's IT BPM sector, given the global tech shifts and also the way Sri Lanka is right now?
So my immediate plan is to sort of re-emphasize or ensure that Sri Lanka's competitiveness in the global landscape is reinforced. With the rapidly changing tech global landscape, we need to ensure that we continue to be a global center for technology innovation and competitive talent. So a couple of years back, our main challenge was insufficient talent, or the supply was not enough. But now we've fixed that. So now we are really working on reskilling and upskilling that talent to meet the current demand and the future demand. And then of course we are working on attracting high value investments into the country and also helping the local companies to scale globally, and also looking at venturing into new markets.
So what are the roadblocks you are seeing?
I would say what is needed is consistent policy and very strong leadership. So when I say policy, I mean it's the alignment of technology, infrastructure, policy, skills, all of that into a national vision. And successive governments should also support the same policy, because if policy changes, then we don't reflect a very good picture to our global counterparts. On the other hand, strong leadership, because this is definitely not an easy job. because you're liaising with all the government departments, universities, so many stakeholders. So you need a very strong leader who can drive through any impediments which might come your way. It's just that everyone needs to focus and get there, and the same national vision or this current policy should continue. The culture and the mindset of the people might be a roadblock, because sometimes I still hear people thinking, okay, when we have a digital ID, will information be exposed to external parties? So, I mean, misconceptions like that should be addressed. Digital divide between, say, the Western province and the other provinces might be a roadblock which needs to be addressed.
So how can public-private collaborations actually strengthen what we want to achieve?
I think that's the key, public-private collaboration, because the public infrastructure and systems will provide that stability, policy, infrastructure and so on, while the private sector will bring in the business, the quality resources and the delivery platforms. And this together, the two sectors together, can really drive this IT BPM industry to the next level.
And so let's take a look at our markets this week.
The all-share price index at the Colombo Stock Exchange continued to break records, with the index approaching a historical all-time high of 21,000 points. Crude oil prices stabilized at $65.50 per barrel, even as Asia, the world's biggest oil importing region, saw crude oil imports average 27.18 million barrels per day in August, a year-on-year high. Gold prices hit new record highs, breaking through $3,500 per ounce for the first time in history, supported by continuous purchases by central banks, investors seeking safe haven investments, and weakening US dollar.
Ever seen a boat that flies over the water? Artemis Technologies has designed the E-Foiler, the world's first commercially viable zero-emission boat for high-speed transport across the water. Looks cool and is cool. With global certifications in applied behavior analysis and over 20 years of international expertise in autism and ADHD intervention, Anton James is a trailblazer in neurodevelopment care. As founder of the Tiramisu Haus International and Merak, his pioneering work has earned him top honours from the British Psychological Society and the British Science Council. He is the first educational scientist of Sri Lankan origin to be named a Chartered Scientist by the Science Council UK. He joins Kaleidoscope Let's Talk to share his extraordinary journey. What are the most damaging misconceptions about ABA?
There are two most damaging misconceptions. The primary one is that the ABA is too structured. I think that's caused from, again, lack of regulation and people practicing without regulation. And if you go to media and go to YouTube and put ABA, all you see is the structured aspect of the ABA. But in the ABA, there's something called naturalistic environmental teaching. This is not unstructured, it's very free, and it's totally opposite of what they see in the media. The second thing I would say that people have conception ABA uses punishment. Again, it goes back to lack of regulation, people practicing without being regulated. Our professional body specifically states that you have to use least restrictive procedures. Then once you are trained and you are competent, you don't have to go into punishment. It's part of our ethics. Because of the lack of regulation, these misconceptions are being formed.
So you created the Behavior Therapist Registration Board to bring legitimacy and oversight into the whole process. Why do you think that was necessary?
If you do a course in speech therapy, it doesn't make you a speech therapist. You have to have a supervision done. You have to be registered with the Sri Lankan Medical Council in the case of Sri Lanka. Same with behavior therapy. It's just like having a YouTube video or going for a training doesn't make you a behavior therapist. That is the realistic situation in Sri Lanka. There's not a single person in Sri Lanka before I came they were actually certified and regulated by a professional body. In order to become a behavior therapist, you have to have the training, supervision, then continuing professional development after becoming certified, and you have to be bound by the ethical guidelines. And your work has to be supervised. And this is not being followed in Sri Lanka. And just to protect the public and also the profession, it was absolutely necessary to create this.
So Anton, your school, the Treehouse International, is the first of its kind. What were the barriers actually that you encountered when you were putting this together?
We were started in the middle of the financial crisis, and it's an international school. You can imagine how hard that would be, because all the embassies put out a notice that foreign students, citizens to leave. So we were, international students have to leave at the time, but we remained open. That was the first barrier. Then after we passed that, it's a staffing issue, because in Sri Lanka, there were no behavior therapists certified and regulated. So I have to personally train each and individual special needs teacher. That's the standard that we wanted to have, so that everyone is trained and qualified. Then in Sri Lanka, once you're trained and qualified, people wanted to go abroad for a better jobs, and that's just one thing. And also there are people within the Sri Lankan community, they like to spread a false narrative that ABA is not effective. And some people send false narrative, oh, why do you want to go to Treehouse? Because we can do it cheaper. Of course it will be cheaper if it's done by somebody who's not certified and regulated. So these false narratives were also part of the challenges that we had, but we have successfully overcome all of that, I would say.
So you've trained teachers and healthcare workers in some remote islands in the Maldives, for instance. What has that experience taught you?
Working in the Maldives was great. The Maldivian government really liked to collaborate, and we have collaborated with the Maldivian, directly with the presidential office, the Ministry of Education in the Maldives, Ministry of Social Services in the Maldives. They have came to Sri Lanka. They got our experience. I have went there several times to train people around the Maldives. In Sri Lanka, on the other hand, the government is very reluctant to change and bring something more evidence-based. So what I have learned in this experience is that people are leaving the country. It's not because they don't like the country. It's that the people who are passionate and who are competent, they were not given the chance to do so.
So what's your next frontier other than the project?
Instead of building more schools, I thought that we had to build a system. So we successfully managed to bring a system that people are coming to Sri Lanka, which is good for the economy. So what we are doing in that system is that we charge a very high fee for foreign students. We are reinvesting the money into the society. We are giving free or reduced school fee for our local students, and we are investing into the major national initiative, autism awareness, behavior therapist registration board. We are doing various different investments. This model works. Our data shows it works. So in order to create a system, and also the mission of the Treehouse is to have evidence-based treatment available in the Indian Ocean. So in order to achieve that, we have to look at new schools, new geography, but more than that, we have to have a system ready to show that instead of we going outside for treatment, people can come inside and build our economy.
We stepped into history recently when we visited Beethoven's house in Bonn for a first-hand look at the life and legacy of a musical genius. On a busy cobblestone street in Bonn, Germany, stands a modest house with a distinct dark green door. Modest it may be from the outside, but inside it echoes with the genius of Ludwig von Beethoven. Born here in 1770, this was where a prodigy first touched the keys that would one day shake the world of music. At Beethoven Haus, the silence sings with original manuscripts, pianos he composed on, ear trumpets he once used, and even a lock of his hair. Walk through rooms where he lived, struggled, composed, and hear the haunting brilliance of a man going deaf, yet still creating symphonies that thundered with passion. This isn't just a museum, it's a soul space. You don't see Beethoven's life, you feel it in every creaking floorboard, every scribbled note, every echo of the music he composed. And so it is September. Take a break, relax to a symphony, and we'll see you next week.